The origins of Rosen are from Marion Rosen. That's why it's called the Rosen Method. She was a German lady, and she was a physiotherapist during the war, and she went to Sweden to escape the war, and she worked over there, and she got into breath work. And she was continuing with her practice, and she found that when she actually spoke to people, when she was working on them, about how they were doing in their lives, not just physically, she noticed that their breath changed with what they were saying when they released something. So she started to develop that a little bit more and put her hands on and stay there when people were talking and releasing in their muscles. And she started to develop, without really knowing it, without intentionally knowing it, this method where she could help people release emotions from the body, stuck emotions. So she worked on a woman called Sarah Webb, who had asthma, and she cured her of her asthma. And that's how it developed. And then Sarah asked her to teach. So she started to teach in Berkeley, in California. She went to Berkeley. That's where she was living in the latter part of her life. And that's where, in the Berkeley Center in Berkeley, is where the Rosen Institute still is. She's sadly passed away. She died at 97. And she had no fingerprints on her hands where she'd touched so many people. Well, I was lucky enough to be in her class. I was in my 20s. I was traveling around the world, not really settled at anything. And working with her, I didn't realize I was with the great Marion Rosen. I just happened to sign on to the class, and she was my teacher with Gloria Hesseland. And she was in her 70s at that time. She was very strong and very soft, but she was very direct. I think it was her directness that was really clear. She would listen to everybody, and then she would go and pinpoint and go for the jugular. Yeah. I was working for a woman who was a therapist, and I was looking after her kids and cleaning houses in Berkeley. And she came home one day and she said that she'd had a massage and she cried. And I thought, wow, that's interesting, because I had terrible trouble with my legs. I've been traveling in India, and I got really bad amoebic dysentery. I was in hospital in Thailand. I was in hospital in Australia. I was in hospital in the States. And I couldn't get to the bottom of why I couldn't stand on my own legs. So it was a really kind of frightening time. And I was only 21, 22 when I had all that trouble. And so I was, in my own mind, I was wondering, why am I ill? Why can't my legs carry me around? And so when she said I had a massage and I cried, I thought, oh, wow, that's it. That's interesting. So I signed up to have a session, and it was with Sarah Webb, who was one of the first people that Marion taught. And it was life-changing. And she put her hands on me and just kind of put her hands over my back. And I thought, what's she doing? Didn't feel like a massage. I didn't know what she was doing. And I had this really weird experience of going inside, and I could see kind of snapshots of my childhood. It was the strangest feeling. And I was sinking deep into, I just went somewhere else. I don't know where I went. And she asked me a couple of questions, and the floodgates opened, and that was it. And I just cried, and I didn't realise how angry I was. And I was just going around the world getting drunk, partying, having a great time, and it really stopped me in my tracks. And when I got off the table, I walked down the street, and I felt like I'd been hit by a truck, but I felt exhausted and peaceful at the same time. And I thought, don't know what that was, but whatever it is, I'm going to learn it. So that's what, it stopped me in my tracks. So I decided to learn it. The Rosen Method is a form of bodywork performed on a massage table, and we work with muscle tension. So everybody holds tension in different places. We reflect back to the body how it's holding itself. And most people don't realise. They might realise to a certain degree, I've got stiff shoulders or a sore neck or a sore back, but it can be much deeper than that, much more subtle all over the body. So we reflect back to the body how it's holding itself until there's some movement. We can stay for quite a long time in the same place. We might move around. One hand moves, the other hand doesn't, until we really connect with the person. We watch every breath they take. We feel every breath they take. And we look at the body. It's like a body reading, because every body tells a story. And you can see where the tension is, and then you can make it even stronger by putting your hands on and reflecting back to the body what it's doing. And with that, we use words as well, like, how does that feel? Some people don't know how they feel, or what does that feel like to you? Or a certain word might come up. And so we reflect it back to the client, and they might say something. People have said things to me they haven't told anybody in 25, 30 years. They like didn't realise they put that away. And it could be grief, sadness. It's always the negative. It's always the yucky stuff. Happiness and love and all that we feel, we have it in the moment. We allow ourselves to have it. But it's the stuff that we suppress. Anger, sadness, guilt, whatever. Any type of kind of negative emotion that we weren't allowed to express at that time. And we can hold on to tension that's current, 6 months ago, a year ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. So there's no one way to describe it because every session is different. And even if you can have as many sessions as you like, but something always comes up, or something might come up, some kind of emotion, and you can feel it. When you feel it, that's where the healing is. If you can't feel something, we reflect back to the client and try and get the person to feel what they're feeling. Sometimes I know what it is, but I can't feel it for them. I have to wait for the client to feel it. I can't force it. The body dictates, and it's the body tells the story. A Rosen session is performed on a massage table. It's not a massage. We don't do the arms and then the legs. There's no formula for it. Every session is different. We have no agenda. We see where there's breath, where there's movement in the body, and you can see how somebody lies. You can see the tension in the body because we learnt to body read, if you like, to see how somebody lies. And we get a sense of who somebody is by looking at them. It's body reading. Where there's tension, there's no breath. There's no oxygen comes into the muscles. The oxygen gets carried by the blood into the muscles. If there's a shortness of breath, then you've got tense muscles. And that's what we work with. That's the juice. That's where we go to. When people don't breathe deeply, their diaphragm tightens up. And our diaphragm can be our own emotional barometer of holding on to stuff. When people are very tense or upset or anxious or stressed, or when people are having a panic attack, their diaphragm tightens up. And we can feel it on the back as well. So when the diaphragm softens, then more breath can come in, more oxygen comes through into the muscles, and it softens the muscles. And that's where sometimes people get in touch with an emotion. Not always. Sometimes there's just movement and they can take a full breath and they feel better and they feel very relaxed. Or sometimes they go, oh my God, I'm suffering, you know, I feel grief or whatever it is. So where there's no breath, there's no movement, but that's what we work with. That is the key, is the breath. The breath is so important in a Rosen session because the breath is life, it's prana, it's chi, it's life force. When the breath leaves the body, that's when we die. So the more fully, deeply we can breathe, the more alive we feel. And when people are tense, then they tighten up all over and they don't feel alive. Everything tenses. So the breath is life, as we all know, but you can deepen your breath by letting go of the tension in the muscles. And that's how we do it, is we reflect back to the body and wait for the breath to come in. When people get in touch with their emotions and they can release it, that's when there's softening in the muscles, more breath comes in, and they're softer and looser and have more movement in their bodies. What it feels like to have breath come into parts of your body that you didn't realise is almost, or it can feel like euphoric. People say to me, oh, I'm not breathing, I didn't realise. It can be like a real sense of relief that it's relief, really. People feel lighter, they feel their body again. Sometimes I put my hands on, what do you feel in your back? Nothing, numb. What do you feel in your legs? Nothing, they're just legs. Will they carry you around? How do you feel in your calves? I don't know. A lot of I don't know, so we go with the I don't know. And what is it under that I don't know, where something's been blocked or put away? So the breath is the life, and that's what we work with. When babies are born, they're free, they're moving, they've got freedom in their body, they breathe into their belly. But as we grow older, we get conditioned by our environment, religion, culture, wherever we're from. So we suppress emotions because that's what happens, because we're dealing with wherever we are, our environment. But we don't often know. It's the unconscious body we're dealing with. So that's what we work with. When we lie on a table, we might think we're okay. We don't realise, maybe we've got a stiff neck or whatever, but we don't realise how we've suppressed. And when you actually have a session, you can often get in touch with something that you didn't even realise was there in the first place. And when you get in touch with it, you think, oh, that's why I did do that, or that's what happened. And you can actually change your behaviour. because we are products of our environment and we behave in a certain way because it's natural, we're not even aware of it. But when we take the time to be still and to really let ourselves feel, that's when there's a change. When people come to a Rosen session, sometimes they're just expecting to feel relaxed, don't really know what it is. But what is really lovely is when people come in with the intention of relaxing, which is great, which they do, but they don't realise that the muscle tension, once it's released and once they feel whatever emotion is connected to it, that they can feel so alive and so free after. So it can really help you get rid of a niggling problem that you've had for years, maybe a stiff neck or a sore back. It's like, what is underneath that? Why have I still got a sore back after physiotherapy or from having massage after massage? It's getting to the root of what's underneath it. It's connecting the physical pain or the tension to the emotion, the feeling. It's the buried emotions underneath the muscle tension that sometimes we're not even aware of. So it can be quite transformational. Why have I got a bad back? And you come and you realise what you've been holding on to emotionally, and that's when there's a release. That's when there's the softness in the muscle. That's when the breath comes in, the oxygen comes in, and the release comes, and that's when you feel freer. And once you free that up, it leaves space for other things. Some people don't realise that they are stuck. They don't realise what they're holding on to, but it gives space for love, for joy, for happiness. Some people don't allow themselves, or they don't know what it's like to feel happy and at peace with themselves. And that's the thing we're all looking for, is inner peace. And then the Rosen Method helps you do that. It brings you to a place of complete inner peace by letting go of the emotions in the muscles, the connection between the two, the feelings and muscle tension. The Rosen Method can help with so many things. It can help with anxiety, stress, feeling stuck emotionally, physically, mentally. Once you connect with yourself of who you really are without all the layers of the masks and who you want people to see, it's life-changing, it's transformational. Because we put this face onto the world and we put the body onto the world. You know, you walk around in a certain way, reacting to the environment. But when you let go of that and you shed the layers, then you allow yourself to be completely you. And that's what we're all here to be, is to be ourselves. So it's letting go of all the layering, of all the conditioning, of all the padding to survive in the world. But once you release it, it's like a freedom, absolute freedom. And the key as well is to let yourself be vulnerable. That's where the strength is. Marion used to say there's strength in vulnerability, and I didn't understand it for a long time. But once you let yourself be vulnerable, that is your truth. And it helps you get in touch with your truth and follow your true path and align with yourself and your soul. We all have pain in our lives, be it physical, mental, emotional. And the Rosen Method helps you deal with that pain to allow a change, Because oftentimes we're stuck and we don't realise why. Get a lot of people that come with relationship problems, with work problems, with all sorts of things, parenting problems, all sorts of things. And when you feel the pain of what's inside, when you connect the pain with the physical holding, that's when there's movement, and that's when there's freedom, and that's when there's change. As a Rosen practitioner, I can help people release trauma. People know they have it. They might know what the story is or what happened. Some people don't know what happened, but they know that there's something inside them. We're just very present in the moment with them to allow them to release it. It's a very, very gentle way to be with that person and to leave the past in the past. So we can help with trauma. And trauma can show itself in different ways. It can be one event or many events, or a repeating event, or it can just be a subtle form of trauma that's been in the body for years. So that is basically what we're dealing with, is trauma in the body, to release it. And when you release it, then there's a freedom. So other ways that people benefit from Rosen is they realise what they've been doing. We don't realise we're repeating the same patterns, but it's the awareness of it, that's when everything changes. Oh, that's what I've been doing. Oh, that's what's happened. That's why I react like that. And that is the beauty, one of the beauties of the Rosen Method, is that people realise what they're doing, but once you have that awareness, it all changes. Dealing with trauma can be difficult, But we are trained to be with you in that moment and to release it and to let it go, for it to stay in the past where it belongs, rather than it be here. So once you release it, on the other side of that is joy, peace, freedom, and just feeling happy, which some people haven't felt in a while.